This program is rated PG. It contains themes and scenes which may not be suitable for very young audiences. Parental guidance is advised.
Greetings from the Philippines to the world. We are on Facebook Live on Eagle News and Net25 TV and also on our streaming site eaglenewslive.com. Watch us on our YouTube channel at Net25 TV. I am Cesar Vallejos. Welcome to Open for Business. Join me discover the latest news and information in business around the world. Stay ahead of the curve from vision to action. If big companies have been hardly hit by the impact of COVID-19, more so the startups which are struggling to make their mark in the competitive marketplace. In this episode of Open for Business, we have a tech startup who will share with us tips on transforming your business that includes outsourcing and digitalization. Ginger Arboleda, co-founder and chief operating officer of Taxumo, will join us when Open for Business returns after these reminders.
StaySafe.ph for citizens. I-download ang app at mag-register gamit ang iyong mobile phone number at OTP. I-report ang iyong health condition gamit ang checklist sa app. Ikaw ay protektado dahil sa advanced contact tracing ng StaySafe gamit ang auto-detection ng Bluetooth at GPS. Manonotify ka rin sa mga lugar na may positive, probable, at suspected COVID-19 cases. Kaya safe ka sa mga pampublikong lugar. Safe ka din sa mga pampublikong sasakyan gaya ng jeep. Ang mga kinauukulan naman ay magagamit ang StaySafe app sa pag-verify ng iyong health condition gamit ang QR code scanning upang mapanatiling safe ang mga establishments. Kapag ikaw ay nasa trabaho, ikaw ay ligtas. Sa LRT o MRT o kahit saang mass transportation ay magagamit ang StaySafe app sa pag-verify ng iyong health condition gamit ang QR code scanning upang mapanatiling ikaw ay protektado. Kahit sa tricycle, safe ka din. Ngayon na tayo ay nasa new normal, kailangan nating masigurong safe tayo at ang ating buong pamilya. Download the app now para safe ka rin at para safe tayong lahat. Be safe with StaySafe.ph.
Open for Business is back, and with me is Miss Ginger Arboleda, the co-founder and COO of Taxumo. How are you, Miss Ginger?
Hi, Cesar. Thank you for having me in the show. So we're doing good, and I'll be happy to share some insights and experiences.
It's interesting that we have you today because being one of the owners of a startup company, people are now looking at what's going to happen in 2021. And what's more interesting is that consumer confidence is coming back. A lot of people are now going out, to eat, to shop, have a good dining experience. But before I will ask you about, what happened with you and your company and startups, I would just like first to really also know what's your outlook for 2021. Do you think we'll be having a bright 2021 despite what's happening this year? Di ba, when we had 2020, all the while we thought we have this clear vision kasi 2020 everything's going to be bright and 2020 will be one of the brightest years in our personal lives, in our careers. Some even a lot of people even planned their weddings, di ba, in 2020, but everything was put on hold. So Miss Ginger, what's your vision for 2021?
Yeah, so Cesar, I think it's good to see that a lot of Filipinos, I think what's good about us Filipinos, we're very resilient. No? So we also are very madiskarte when it comes to our businesses. So I think gone are the days that we're still scrambling on what to do. So I think we've already seen the things that we can control. So a lot of the business owners that I've seen in our platform, and also like my friends who are business owners, we've already decided on things and have taken action towards like be making a great 2021. So in terms of like the startup industry, I've seen a lot of pivots now when it comes to the business model that they have. So a lot of the businesses who were doing very well during the pandemic, now they've shifted or pivoted to another kind of business that addresses different needs and pain points of customers. So yon. So masasabi ko lang, I think I'm very hopeful to what's happening in 2021.
Mm-hmm. It's good, Miss Ginger, also that as a member of the startup community in the Philippines, talagang you fully embraced digital transformation, di ba? One of, I think the concept of your business model is towards that, embracing digitalization. Can you talk more about this concept of digital transformation, especially for SMEs? Kasi, siyempre, a lot of the SMEs now had to really fast track, diba, their digital transformation, unlike you in your case. Maybe you can also talk about your business model so that it will be easier for SMEs now to go towards digital transformation as well.
Okay, so Cesar, I think I want to start with like a frequently asked question by people. They always ask me like, what's the difference between a startup company and a traditional business? I think for startups, what we look at is the impact that we can create in this world. So, and when we think of impact, we're talking about, let's say, the UN SDG goals, Sustainable Development Goals, and we're helping towards that, helping towards a specific impact that we want to create. And when we talk about the impact, that's wherein scalability comes into play. And this being scalable, us being scalable, no, it's a big discussion in the startup scene that we do things fast, we do things quickly to achieve that scale. And it's all because of that, because when we have impact, we want to have that huge impact. And we can only do it when we scale up our services. So, and we know that one enabler really is technology. So that's the reason why most of the startups are tech startups, because we use technology to scale our business, to get to as much customers or as much people as possible, so that we can basically help improve the services all around us. So in my case, my business revolves around tax services or compliance. Before, alam naman natin that tax compliance isn't that easy in the Philippines. It's a very tedious process. Before the train law, we had a simple business owner would file 16 forms in a year. And with train law, it was cut down to around 8 tax forms in a year. But still, the process of complying with the government, the process of registration, tax compliance, it's hard. It's very manual because of it being manual. The complication comes into play. No?
Yeah,
So what we did,
Miss Ginger, that business model is very interesting. But I'd like to go back to two concepts that you mentioned about startups.
Sure.
We acknowledge what you mentioned about the difference of startups and also the traditional businesses. But you mentioned two words, and that is scalability and impact. Now, halimbawa, di ba, a lot of the startups, especially the tech startups, are very young entrepreneurs like you. You know, some of them, you know, they haven't been in college or they haven't graduated from college yet, but you know, they have this idea and concept already in mind. As a matter of fact, you know, immediately after college, they already set up their own startup companies. In terms of impact, Miss Ginger, as you also mentioned about the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, ano ba yung mga areas dun sa, halimbawa sa 17 SDGs na gusto ng mga startups na magkaroon ng impact? So, the young entrepreneurs now, di ba, they are really very passionate, they're very creative, pero with the millennials now, you know, with the young entrepreneurs, what is that specific impact based on your, you know, dealings with other startups like you? Ano bang impact yung talagang dapat nilang napagtutuunan ng pansin? Or ano yung, you know, what is that area or that pain point in business that they want to have impact upon or impact on?
Yeah, it's this pandemic has really taught me about soul searching. No, I think it's very important that you have self-awareness if you are a startup. So it really starts with where you want to make that impact. No, so let's say if you are a firm believer on helping the environment, no, yung itong mga bagyo natin ngayon, it's really caused by systems that are disarray, no, yung dahil ginulo natin ng nature, basically. Kaya nagkakaroon ng mga ganitong klaseng pandemia or unforeseen circumstances like bagyo, diba? So, if you want to help with that, then focus on that. Ang mga, I guess, in terms of like scalability and sustainability when it comes to monetization, no? Obviously, you have to look around you. Tingnan nyo kung anong kailangan ng communities ninyo. So, if obviously, nandiyan pa rin yung mga basic needs, essentials. If you're planning a startup for essentials, medical technology, medtech, that's also something that people are looking at right now. Because of the pandemic, they've become more aware of the fact that they need to protect themselves and their health. Fitness is also one thing right now. Basic needs, hindi mawawala yan. So food, logistics also, because transportation has been cut off, right? So in terms of like all of these rules and regulations by the government so that everyone is safe and secure. So logistics will come into play. So if you have a startup na gusto nyo magpadala ng goods from one place to another or help people transfer goods and services or raw materials, that is also good. Agriculture, because of food or necessities, no, of people. So you know, so it's really up to you to see where do you want to help with, lalo na sa mga yung mga young people who are watching this.
Mm-hmm. Wow, yes, that's really awesome, and that's very interesting because I think based on what you are saying now, Miss Ginger, kailangan we have to be sensitive then with what's happening around the world, no? And that is where you should address to really create, as you mentioned, scalability. Because you may have this very, very good idea naman, pero you know, it doesn't help people at all. You know, it's non-essential. And so, you know, that's a very, very good point. And now you mentioned about this service that you have offered to a lot of SMEs, and that's tax services. Bakit nyo naisipan na tax services ang i-offer as a startup business model?
Yeah, so I actually was I have another company before. I had and actually have, but we shifted now and pivoted. It was an events management company. So 2 years after I started that sole proprietorship, nagkaroon ako ng problema when it comes to taxes because I didn't know like the taxes that I need to pay, kailan yung due dates. Like any business owner, like Cesar, kasi most of the MSMEs, they get into business because of passion, diba? They forget that there are still administrative things that they need to think of, like tax compliance. And it really takes a toll in your finances if you don't know at least the foundation about tax filing and tax compliance. So that's what happened to me. I had to pay exorbitant fees. Sobrang laki ng binayad ko sa BIR. And yung husband ko now comes into the picture and says, let me develop a system that will help you. So it really helped me a lot. I got to focus on the core functions of growing my business. No? And then, so we figured that this is something that other MSMEs would want as well. It's really looking at using technology for the day-to-day things that you may oftentimes neglect.
Mhm. So it's a mixture of that business concept. Actually, you said it started with a pain point, which is, which resulted to you paying a lot. Because of tax compliance, there were issues. And then from that pain point, you had this business idea. But the interesting thing there is that the need for technology to institutionalize it. So what's the interplay now of technology in your business, but not necessarily in your business, but maybe you can also share your key points or insights for SMEs. I always use this example, and Miss Betchay Vidanes knows this, na yung mga dating nagtitinda ng kakanin sa mga vendors sa daan, di ba, during the pandemic and after the pandemic, they had to use technology or social media to post, their products, their produce, and after that, the world is their market. So, how important is the use of technology, in business, especially for SMEs, as they offer now their products to a bigger market, and that is the whole world.
Yeah. So in that case, it's really thinking about like the quickness when it comes to delivering your services. It's thinking about delighting your customers. Like how can you delight your customers? It's getting to as much of the target addressable market or your target audience as much as possible and using technology. Pero there are also cases wherein you don't really technology isn't something that you want to use, no? So, titignan mo talaga yung negosyo mo. Like, where in my business can I use it? For example, in your example, marketing, basically using technology for marketing was the most crucial aspect of that, no? Kung nagtitinda siya, maybe in terms of like baking sila pa rin, and then replicating themselves as bakers or cooks, no, when it comes to creating the product. So you have to determine where in your process can you actually insert technology. So that's where itong digital transformation comes into play. You don't just inject technology even when it's not needed, because resources come into play as well. So mahal eh. Like for example, yung kanina, why wasn't there a service really like us when we went into the market? No? So we were the first to do this. The reason why a lot of meron na for big business owners, like large corporate clients who had infinite resources. No? Meron silang team who can do it. Meron silang money which can be used for building systems, internal systems, or internal applications. But for us business owners, wala kasi tayong pera talaga when it comes to like, kailangan ko tong i-automate, or kailangan kong mag-build ng website, or kailangan ganito. So for me, for a business owner at this point in time, especially an MSME, you have to look at specific processes and take it one step at a time. No? Adopt digital technology, or adopt technology where it can be used for certain purposes, no, or getting the business objective or achieving the business objective. So hindi naman kailangan na i-automate nyo lahat kaagad. It's just slowly adopting it and then seeing if it works for you. If you grow your business using this, then that's what you need to do at this point in time.
Ginger, you mentioned something about cost. So like, say for example, you don't have to use technology or make sure that your business needs it, because you said technology may be expensive, but with my other interviews, technology doesn't have to be expensive because there are enablers, diba? So instead of, like, say for example, I was talking with one of the CEOs, they develop a lot of free platforms. So it's up for the SME now to make sure that they make use of those free platforms and apply it to their business. But in your case, ang nakakatuwa sa inyo, ikaw ang from that platform, you developed that platform. It's like you created it and it's offered to a lot of SMEs. Is the process also of because that's already software or app development, diba? So what's the certain process? And this is, as you mentioned, you were the first to offer these tax services online or digital. What's the certain process? You don't have to describe in detail, but is it expensive ba, or did you somehow modify an existing business model or software app and then you applied it in the Philippine market? Paano ba yun?
Yeah, in terms of the cost, no, it wasn't really an issue for us when we started because everything was developed internally. So when I say internally, my husband developed it, and then when we scaled up, or nung meron nang nagbabayad for our service, that's when we hired developers, etc. I think what you need to think of when you're starting a startup, it's really looking at the product market fit. Looking if people will buy your services, because importante yon, because revenue will always sustain you, no? So it's not like maghahanap ako ng investor who will invest in me or mag-uutang ako right away. Those are not the first things that you think of. The first thing that you need to think of is your customer. Like, what does your customer need? And are they willing to pay for the service? Because, sabi nga, diba, if you get a little bit of traction already, when I say traction, people who are paying for your services, it's slowly, unti-unti nyo na siyang nasa-scale because you will have to iterate, titignan mo, oy, what works, no? And then I will do that and multiply that, basically, multiply that action, and then scale up. So, in terms of cost, hindi talaga siya issue. And to add to that, there are a lot of, tama ka, free services that are already there out in the market as compared to, grabe ang nagagawa ng 4 years. As compared to 2016, there were not a lot of enterprise solutions for MSMEs. But now there are a lot. No? People are seeing that there are a lot of services that they can use for marketing, for HR, for all of these things. So it's good to explore and look around. No? So marami talagang free and not so expensive. But another thing that I want to add pala, Cesar, is that when you outsource, see to it that just be clear that you're outsourcing the work and not the risk and the business decisions. No? Business decisions are still made by the business, and risks are usually, syempre, sa business pa rin. So yun yung akala ng ibang tao na, let's say, I'll outsource this to someone who can help me with, let's say, legal documents. The risk is still with the business. It's not with the lawyer na hinire mo. Yeah. So ganun yung that's how we should think about these systems and applications. No, you outsource the work, but the business decisions need to come from the business owners and the founders pa rin.
Wow, Ginger, these are very practical tips, and thank you so much for sharing. We're running out of time. We have to pause for these reminders. Open for Business will be back. Stay with us.
Factual.
We have to defeat the virus everywhere.
Timely information. Balanced. Not only in the country, but also abroad.
I'm certain of one thing.
Interviews that people need to know. Watch Agila Pilipinas! A one-hour newscast of reports coming from regional hubs in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. Know the important updates in Asia in ASEAN in Focus. Track the latest stories in the provinces in Agila Probinsya.
Sa mga taga-Iloilo at Antique, mapiyang
Tune into Mata ng Agila, the evening primetime news program of Net25. Balanced and objective, Mata ng Agila covers national and international issues, tackles news on business, health, science and technology, entertainment, sports and human interest features, and current events. And Eagle News International
On
delivers the
tonight's
latest
headlines.
global reports, impartial, accessible, and up-to-date. It brings to fore EBC's rich international scope and access to valuable information streams.
Well, thank you to explain our health outdoor
Catch these programs on Net25. You can also watch our news programs through eaglenews.ph and Eagle News Facebook page and YouTube channel.
Open for Business is back, and still with me is Miss Ginger Arboleda, the co-founder and COO of Taxumo. Miss Ginger, we were talking about risks earlier. I think that was the last insight that you mentioned. In terms of outsourcing, people are using or hiring or making use of these available platforms. You mentioned that the risk should still be with the business owner. Ano ba yung, I know that there's different kinds of business risks, di ba? Pero what are these risks that business owners, especially SMEs, should look out for?
Yeah, so most of the applications kasi out there, Cesar, are just tools, no? So for example, like in terms of compliance or tax filing, you can't blame the system or you can't blame your accountant. At the end of the day, the one who pays the penalties is you, the business owner. And also, let's say security, no? Security is there, like yung applications to tell us if there are malware or viruses that are trying to be injected in our website or systems and applications. So those are tools. Pero at the end of the day, like who will resolve or who will protect the system pa rin is basically who will make the decisions in this case is the business owner. So maraming instances talaga wherein the risks falls in the business owner's hands.
Okay. Now, you also mentioned earlier, Ms. Ginger, that aside from this tax services, you also maintain this company, from events management, and then you said you pivoted. Ang events talaga malaking it was really adversely affected by the pandemic, diba? No event happened during the pandemic, and up to now, because we still maintain social distancing, diba? The number of people attending an event would be somehow limited, and if you have to really, make use of or implement or be responsible in, providing health and safety for your customers, you have to think of this social distancing. Ang nakakatuwa, Miss Ginger, sinabi mo, talagang nag-transform ka or nag-shift ka and you pivoted, as you startups always mention this, to something digital. And even we were talking about it off cam, even the model, diba, from B2C, business to consumer, to B2B, nag-shift ka din. So, ano yung insights mo na kailan dapat mag-pivot o mag-change ng strategy ang isang startup o isang negosyante para ma-serve niya yung needs ng market niya? Kasi ngayon, hindi naman talaga natin pinaghandaan ang pandemya. So, we are not ready about this. But in your case, since you said off-cam, even before the pandemic, may ginawa ka na, you had to pivot. Kailan dapat gawin ng isang negosyante, kahit lalo na yung mga maliliit natin negosyante, na kailangan pag-isipan na nila yung business model nila, sabi nila, hindi na kumikita to, hindi na effective to. Yung product ko dati na essential ay naging non-essential na. At yun namang mga produkto dati na, na non-essential, my goodness, these are now the essential products like the face shields and the face masks. So the question is, kailan dapat mag-pivot or mag-shift to digital ang mga negosyante?
So merong global entrepreneurship monitor report na tinatawag. So meron doon na ang Philippines actually 66, if I'm not mistaken, 66% of the entrepreneurs in the Philippines fail prior to 3 years because of two things. One is really cash flow management. So yung how they track their finances, how they track their expenses and revenue. And also the other one is financing. So, namamatay because hindi na sustain yung business dahil wala na silang cash, basically, to sustain the business. So, I think, in terms of pivoting, if you know that you really want to sustain this type of business, maybe look at your, again, going back, that's why very important ang why's and ang purpose, no? Because you can go back to your purpose and see how you can achieve it, even if you change the business model, even if you change the product or services that you're offering, no? So that's very crucial. That's one. And next is look at your cash flow. Until when ba talaga ang kaya mong i-sustain yung business mo? If two things lang yun eh. It's either you increase your revenue or cut down on expenses. That's the reason why nung pandemic maraming nagbawas ng tao, because one of the main sources of expense is manpower, diba? So nakakalungkot isipin, but that's one of the things that people cut down on. So maybe look at I think it's a shift of mindset, no? Let's see where we can get more revenue at this point in time. That's why you can introduce new lines, new kinds of products, new business models na kunwari, before, nag-earn ka lang, let's say, from a subscription model. Now, gusto mong dagdagan ng advertising, which probably is something that can give you additional revenue. So, look at that, no? Look at both aspects, no? Saan ba tayo we can increase revenue and cut down expenses. But most of the time, people actually will see that there are opportunities to increase sources of revenue. So, those are the things that I actually can think of right now.
Wow, thank you, Ginger. Now, speaking of, by using the tips that you mentioned, saan pwedeng mag-invest ang mga tao ngayon? Lalo na kung, like say, if you want to create your own startup. But you somehow answered this question earlier. Na kailangan, what's your passion and what's that impact that you wanted to, bring in solution to that. But when you bring out money, when you invest into something, what should that be? Which areas? And related to the question is, what are the demands of the job market naman? Kasi siyempre, kailangan ng tao. And also interesting, maganda yung sinabi mo kanina na cost was not a problem when you started your startup. Not necessarily maybe because, you have a lot of money to pay, but because you have a husband or you have a partner to work with you, correct? That's why for small business owners, ganun talaga, di ba? You have to tap your son, your daughter, your wife, and, that is, I think, the advantage of being a startup. It's small, it's lean lang, and then, you maintain the operations costs at a lower level. But saan dapat pwedeng mag-invest ng startup at ano-ano ang mga demands ng job market, and what could probably the good initiatives that startups can really go into, especially now during the pandemic and as we enter 2021?
Okay, so I had this very interesting conversation with an economist, si Sir Alvin Ang. No? So he's one of the really good economists. And sinabi niya, just look around you, no? Look around, see your community, see what your community needs, and then provide that service. Maybe that's a good start for those who are thinking, ano ba talagang papasukan ko? Next is, I also, tama yung sinasabi niyo, sir, na parang, that's why I had my husband, no? Because skill was already evident within the people around me. So look at ano ba yung skills, because sometimes, sabi nga nila, ang good business is laway lang ang puhunan mo if wala ka talagang perang to start a business, diba? So look at your skills, see what you can give, what value you can give to people around you, so you can also start with that. So in terms of like jobs or demands, no, like the job demands right now, I think a lot of people are looking at yun nga, really transferring like some processes in their business to something more digital. So if meron ka nun, like if you have a skill of helping people change to that particular way of how we are doing things right now, na highly based on technology, then you are in demand right now. So let's say, example lang po, nagbebenta ka online. If marunong ka mag-set up ng shop para sa maliit na negosyante, then you will have a lot of customers, no? Or let's say, marunong ka mag-paid ads, whether kahit anumang social media platform yan. No? So kung magaling ka, marunong ka mag-set up, you can help give value to other small business owners by doing that. No? So skill is, yun yung mga skills na hinahanap right now. Tech is, mabenta ngayon talaga ang technology when it comes to job hunting. No? Kung marunong ka ng data as well. If people right now, kasi with the change that is happening, a lot of changes ang nakikita natin sa consumer behavior, even the way people do businesses nagbago, the way people do business nagbago as well. So data is one thing that we are trying to secure now from people, because lahat ng ginagawa natin nagbago because of all of these constraints that the pandemic has brought us. So data is also data and analytics. Kung magaling ka doon, you're also in demand right now.
In your business cases, Miss Ginger, what were the specific changes that you implemented to adapt to the new normal? Like, for example, my friend Miss B, dati, of course, press conferences are done face-to-face, but I was invited in a press conference one time by her, and everything was done online via Zoom. So, and that's it. There you have it. It's like having this program or press conference via Zoom online. But of course, eventually, we go back into the physical press conferences, including what Net25 did earlier for Ang Daigdig Ko'y Ikaw, our first romantic drama series. But going back to my question to you, ano yung mga what were the changes that you did to adapt to the new normal? Did you revisit then your business plan or your platform and make those tweaks or changes, to make sure that you still continue to address the needs of your market?
Yes. For Manila workshops, we really shifted from a B2C model kasi marami na ngayon na free courses online. So we couldn't really sell like educational courses anymore. We could, but it wasn't that lucrative na, no? Kasi marami na ngayon, syempre lahat nag-shift to technology. Like meron ng mga free courses sa LinkedIn, sa Facebook, all of these. You search on Google, you can just see courses right away. So we shifted to helping businesses, big businesses, create courses na lang online. So parang naging enabler na lang kami sa back end. So ganun yung shift namin when it came to Manila workshops. For Taxumo naman, we saw that a lot of businesses were dormant during the pandemic. So instead of like getting time para mag-file sila, what we did is we created an automated product So it's just, isa-set lang nila sa settings nila that they want to file for these services. The system automatically triggers already filing ng zero tax dues because of the need na people, wala na nga silang pera, and if they close their business, that will entail money also. Eh, yun nga yung point, wala silang pera. So paano nila isasara yung business nila? So right now, what businesses do is that they file, they comply pa rin kahit na dormant yung business, filing zero filings. And then later on, when they see that there's an opportunity to get back up on their feet, no, they can already start paying again, no, start filing taxes again because may revenue nang pumapasok. So that's what we did naman for Taxumo.
Wow, that's interesting. So again, that tip is really to make sure that you still address, and it's like creating a new product or service, that will address the needs of the market during that specific time. We are running out of time again, Miss Ginger. Now we have this. And a lot of our guests would want to share, what 2021 will be like. For them. We feel that there's really a growing business confidence now, growing consumer confidence, and people are starting to go out. In your case, Miss Ginger, what is 2021 to you?
Well, for us, it's really about helping the government automate processes. So I think that's a big factor for a lot of small businesses as well because they deal with the government a lot. So we're trying to help automate processes in the government, not only for taxation, but other aspects like local government units. So we're talking to city mayors right now and offering a more automated service for business renewal and business registration. So for us, it's really giving back time to business owners because we obviously want them to spend their time planning and achieving their business goals without the tedious work of different, kumbaga yung mga bagay na hindi naman nila kailangan talaga pagtuunan ng much pansin. No? So talagang in terms of compliance, nandyan kami for them. Government contributions, nandyan kami for them. So yeah, so I hope that really for small businesses, they've already gone through that self introspection, no? Looking at what they really want for themselves and also their businesses. And in terms of planning for 2020, we're here to give them back the time that they need so that they can focus on growing and sustaining their businesses.
Wow. Now, with the COVID era, what lessons have you learned during the pandemic? Maybe you can briefly, describe what you have been doing or how is your business doing before, during, and after the lockdowns. Was it really a good business before the community lockdowns? I even in the entertainment business and in media, a lot of the plans were already scheduled for the whole year of 2020, but everything is picking up. But during the community lockdowns, everything was put on a hold. In your case, which where you get these lessons from, what happened to you and your business during the community lockdowns?
To tell you honestly, during the time that the government announced the lockdown, that was the highest actually in terms of signups in our system. So which is good because people are now open to using technology really for different processes in their businesses, no? Pati sa tax compliance. Kasi nandiyan naman kami offering the services even before the pandemic, but people were not aggressively sort of adapting to this kind of environment that they can go cashless, that they can pay online, na hindi nila kailangan makita yung actual stamp dun sa mga fina-file nila, no? So, nung pandemic, when the government announced the lockdown, that's when people were open. Kasi obviously, like, for themselves, no, they prioritize their safety. Ayaw nila, syempre, magkasakit. Ayaw nilang lumabas and expose themselves, no? So, yun talaga yung highest when it came to the number of signups that we got. So moving forward naman, we've seen that people are open already to online transactions. They're very open to paying online na hindi na sila kinakabahan pag gumagamit sila ng debit card nila online or gumagamit sila ng mga e-money natin, no? Marami ng e-money providers. So that's very, I guess, that really helps a lot kasi it cut down talaga time ng pagko-commute and even yung health nila, hindi na sila, like they don't need to think about protecting themselves habang nakikipagsapalaran in these kinds of transactions.
Miss Ginger, I see that you are the epitome of a startup who has in an SME who's very resilient, have this passion and creativity, because of these ideas that you are sharing and the insights that you're sharing. My question there is, where do you get that kind of inspiration? Maybe you can provide some tips to our SME owners because, especially with the government campaigns and the private sector campaigns where they support talaga SMEs. Like, di ba, meron tayong Ingat, Angat, and then we have the Bayanihan, that Net25 also supports. So, ito talaga yung panahon na dapat maiangat din ang lahat ng mga SMEs, the small business owners who really, feel that negative impact. Sabi mo nga, dalawa lang yan, cash management at saka financing. So talagang pera lahat. And here you are offering tax services, pera pa rin. So where should the SMEs, get that kind of inspiration that you have to also inspire them to bounce back?
Yeah, so I think one of the questions that we ask now when we make business decisions, big business decisions, and I think people can use this as well, is what's the worst that could happen? So think about like business decisions. And if it doesn't work, let's say you try it out, you execute, and it doesn't work, what's the worst that could happen to you, diba? So if that's something that non-negotiable, so talagang you really need to work on that thing. Pero normally, most of the time, Cesar, people will always have an alternative to that question. No? So it's not the worst. Or sometimes what you can do is you can think back at a very challenging time in your life and see that you're okay now. So you being okay now, it's amazing. So ganun lang siya. So that's how I keep myself motivated. No? Kahit anumang challenge yan, kaya ko yan. Kasi dati nga kaya ko yung mga challenges na binato sa akin. Bakit ito hindi ko kaya? Kaya nyo yan. So it's always, it's really the belief also that you want to create positive change in this world. Yun talaga siya eh. It's whether the impact is for your family, and that's very important as well, or if you want to change the world, that's also as important, equally important as to the impact that you want for your family. No? So lahat tayo, we want to have that positive change through the people around us. So that's what we can latch on. That's why very important and wise when it comes to starting your business. When it comes to starting your business, because that's the only thing that you can think back on and really say na ginagawa ko to dahil dito.
Wow, that's really an inspiring way to end this conversation, and I hope we get more of your insights and your practical tips and ideas in the future episodes of Open for Business. But maybe aside from the tips that you have mentioned already, Ginger, what is it that SMEs should look forward to in 2021?
I think these are exciting times, Cesar, because all of us, we don't know what's going to happen. So maybe keep that really positive attitude and be excited for opportunities that will come your way. And there are a lot of things that we can actually control, no? So tignan natin, let's control the things that we can control. let's keep that positive attitude. Let's help one another. One of the things that I've learned also during the pandemic is that hindi ka nag-iisa. If you look around you, shows like this give you tips, give you inspiration, no, to move forward. And also there are a lot of applications, people, startups who are willing to help you, and even big brands who are willing to help you. So so just keep that positive attitude.
Thank you so much for gracing Open for Business. We hope to see you more and engage with you more, Miss Ginger. That is Miss Ginger Arboleda, the co-founder and COO of Taxumo Open for Business. We'll be back. Stay with us.
Sa panahon ng pandemya,
Ate, face mask po.
sa kanilang muling pagtatagpo,
Miss,
muling
Ate,
mabubuhay ang mga
face
alaala.
mask. Thank you.
Ang mapapait na nakaraan
Hello po, excuse me, face mask
at ang mga pagsubok ng kahapon.
Ay, hindi siya nagpe-face.
Ayoko yan, hindi ako makahinga.
Ay, kaso, kasi kailangan niyo po mag-face mask para safe. At saka mas prone po mga matatanda sa virus.
Matatanda? Aba, kanino kayang anak yon? Ha?
Parang hindi po siya taga dito. Parang dayo.
Paano naman magkakaroon ng turista dito? Wala na silang matutuluyan, sarado na lahat ng mga hotels, hindi ba?
Subalit, muling susukatin ng tadhana ang muling pagtatagpo.
Kuya, ano ginagawa mo dyan?
Wala, no? Bakit naman ako magtatago?
Teka. Ba't parang suddenly ang dami mong secrets? Meron ba akong hindi alam?
Romer, please sabihin mo sa kapatid mo, huwag siyang pagala-gala. Bawal lumabas ang below 21. Tsaka please, sabihin mo sa kanya na huwag na siyang babalik dito sa bahay.
At pakisabi rin po dyan sa mama mo na huwag siyang mag-i-entertain na kung sino-sino, okay? Baka matsyempohan pa siya ng budol-budol.
Just warn your sister, okay? Baka mamaya paalisin kayo ni Mama sa hotel.
Ikaw, may pangarap ka pa ba?
Meron pa rin naman. Karamihan, kinalimutan ko na nung umalis ako dito sa Olvide. Sabi nga nila, di ba? The past is in the past.
Kalimutan na natin yung nakaraan. Kung tayo sa future. Di ba? Gusto mo samahan pa kita eh.
Marami naman akong pangarap dati. Kaya lang nawala lahat yun nung namatay yung daddy ko.
Maybe it's time. Mangarap ka ulit.
Ang daigdig ko'y ikaw. Tuwing Sabado, 8:08 ng gabi, dito lamang sa Net 25.
Open for Business is back, and our term of the week is from Investopedia.com. Our term of the week is venture capitalist. A venture capitalist, or VC, is a private equity investor that provides capital to companies exhibiting high growth potential in exchange for an equity stake. This could be funding startup ventures or supporting small companies that wish to expand but do not have access to equities markets. Venture capitalists are willing to risk investing in such companies because they can earn a massive return on their investments if these companies are a success. VCs experience high rates of failure due to uncertainty that is involved with new and unproven companies. And our word of the week is from the co-founder of Microsoft, Bill Gates. He said, "Your most unhappy customers are your greatest source of learning." Thank you for watching Open for Business. Join us again in the next episodes of Open for Business for more insights from CEOs, thought leaders, industry experts, and SMEs promoting business development in the Philippines. See you again every Saturday and Sunday here in Open for Business, where we discuss business information, deliver the latest business news to keep you informed and open for business and be ahead of the curve from vision to action. You're on Facebook Live on Eagle News and Net25 TV, and you can watch this again in the video section of the Eagle News and Net25 Facebook pages and on eaglenewslive.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Net25 TV. Thank you again for watching. We're open for business. This is Cesar Vallejos. We live in interesting times. Have a great day.
Mga mahalagang pangyayari na naganap